So, as someone who has been a coach for over 15 years, has met so many good, wonderful women, I've come across so many situations where women are doing way too damn much for a man who does not deserve it, going above and beyond for a man who isn't even worth their time. And there's a lot of women, whether in the dating process or in a relationship, and more specifically, let's focus on the dating process, who don't know when to draw the line at this is doing too much. All right. And so I want to help bring clarity to that, because I don't want to see you ladies create investments into men that will then turn into unhealthy attachments. And that's one of the big reasons why we have to really understand this issue, because for a lot of women, and maybe some of you just won't apply to, but for the vast majority of women, the more you do, the more time and energy you give to the man, the more you want a return on that investment. And sometimes you're looking for a return from somebody who is not capable of giving it to you, or who has no willingness to give it to you. But now you feel stuck, or you struggle to walk away because you want your investment validated. And some women, unfortunately, will sink with the ship waiting for that return to come. So again, we're trying to avoid that, and I'm trying to help you navigate these dating streets a lot more efficiently, a lot more effectively, all right? So let's get to one of the big signs that you're doing too much for a man. And that's when you're behaving like a wife and there isn't even a commitment yet, all right? So here's one of the unfortunate things. The way I think a lot of people will agree with the statement of, like, don't give wifely duties to a man who's just your boyfriend or a man you're just dating. But unfortunately, because of the way that we go about romantic relationships in today's age, they're pretty much kind of like pseudo marriages, okay? So so naturally, whether people want to admit it or not, they're gonna end up doing a lot of what was once considered marital things in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. And I think that because of the dynamic, and if other things are in place, it's understandable when that happens to a certain extent. But it's not understandable, or it should be less acceptable for you as a woman to be engaging in these things with a guy who hasn't even committed to you yet. He's not even saying he's your boyfriend. Now, what are wifely duties? Now, some people may view this differently. So, different people have different opinions. But I think once upon a time, physical intimacy was a wifely duty. At least official sex was a wifely duty. Cooking for the man consistently was a wifely duty. Cleaning up this man's house, wifely duty. Giving this man your money, wifely things. All right? I think those are things that most would agree upon. Now, I know with the intimacy part, again, I'm not here saying what should or should not happen, but if we keep it real, we know a lot of people engage before it's even officially commitment in place. We're not going to get all into that, whether that should be or not right now. However, what we have to understand is you're doing all these things and you're waiting for this man to tell you what he even wants. And in many situations, you don't even realize how you're actually making things more difficult for yourself. I know that some may view it as, well, if you don't show the man you can do these things, how will he know you are capable and then want to be with you more seriously? Well, I would counter that by saying, listen, you can show wifely qualities, official girlfriend qualities, however we want to frame it, without having to do it for him, or at the very least doing it consistently. So let's use the whole even cooking for him. It's, number one, you don't have to cook for me to know you are capable of cooking. I can see that you cook for yourself. If you have kids, I can see you take care of your household. It's still a visible thing that I can observe. But even if you say, but no, I want to make sure he knows I can cook good. All right. He can get one meal. Like, if one time you cook some food, he comes over and you're like, here, you can have some. There's nothing wrong with that. But why does that turn into you consistently, constantly cooking for this man? And again, he hasn't committed to you. Or as we mentioned, cleaning of the house. You go into this man's house, you cleaning up. Again, I'm really not gonna take issue with one time here, one time there type of deal. And I think if your goal is to show these skills, okay, mission accomplished one time. But when you're getting into the habit of it, what are you really doing? And what's even more unfortunate is not only have you not received commitment, or has that woman not received commitment in many cases, you're even afraid to ask about where we stand. So you're comfortable enough to pour all this into this man, but uncomfortable to have a genuine conversation about where you stand and if we're going to be official or not. So I think it's important for you as a woman, for any woman, to just be very mindful. Some of you are already like, I ain't doing none of that. And then, bravo, I guess, you know what I'm saying? But and again, don't get me wrong. I want, I'm always talking about exuding feminine energy, and I want women to exude the qualities of a wife, but I don't want women to fall into the trap of doing for a man who's not going to reciprocate, or not going to amount, the situation's not going to amount to what you're hoping for it to be, okay? So I think you just have to be very mindful of that, and you got to be very intentional with not crossing those lines with those things, all right? And not put yourself in a position where you're going, well, I'll save this next point for another one, but bottom line is, we need to know where we're headed with this relationship. We need to have a commitment. Once there's a commitment in place, then there's more of an argument for being able to do a lot of these things. But before then, you gotta slow down. All right. So now here's another big sign you're doing too much for a man, and that is when you're being being someone that you're not. Okay. So let's paint the picture. Woman meets man. Amazing man, she's excited, everything seems wonderful, and she really wants this to work. And in her desire to make this work, this woman finds out all the things that this man likes and what he's looking for in a woman, and she does everything in her power to tap into being that woman. Now, on the surface, that sounds great, and there's gonna be a level of that for everyone when dating, and really, when you're really into someone, you want to tap into the things that speak to their heart. But let's just say with this scenario, this woman is tapping into those things, but some of those things goes against who she really is. Some of those things aren't truly comfortable for her. Not comfortable in the sense of, I have to get more used to doing it. Comfortable in the sense of, this is not me, this does not work for me, or maybe this even goes against certain values and beliefs I have, okay? But in trying to, again, keep the man happy, she keeps pushing along. And let's just say she succeeds. Man is happy. Not only is he happy, all right, they're official. Not only are they official, they get married. And years into the marriage, or maybe even months into the marriage, the woman wakes up one day, looks in the mirror, and she thinks, who the hell am I? What happened to me? Where did I go? She can't even recognize herself anymore because she is a shell of who she truly is, because she's been trying to fit into this box to keep this man happy. Now, before I get to the main point I want to push here, let's continue with this scenario, because there's two ways this goes, or maybe more than two ways. But some women have that moment where they look in the mirror, but they've built this life, this marriage, maybe kids, and they're like, well, I can't ruin this. So let me stuff my true self. Let me suppress myself some more and just keep pushing. Even though I'm unhappy, this makes me miserable, but I love the aspects of my new life that I want to hold on to, so I'm going to keep going. While other women, now they're trying to leave. And now it's a whole messy situation, because now it's like, I can't do this anymore. And to everyone else, whether that be family, friends, whatever, they're like, what's wrong with you? Why would you want to leave? Why are you divorcing this man? Boom, 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 boom. But what they don't know is, this whole time, You were trying to keep up with an act that you could never sustain. And that's why it's so important to recognize this issue as early as possible, because it's going to lead to a dead end. It's going to lead to very unfortunate circumstances. So you've got to evaluate early. When you are getting to know a man, when you're dating, again, there's always going to be a process and an ongoing process of learning how your partner wants to be loved, tapping into those things, and that's wonderful. But you cannot cross the line of compromising who you are as a woman. Now, who you are is going to vary with each individual, okay? So let's just say, I don't know, this is hitting my spirit. I really don't want to talk about this, but I can't ignore when I'm having one of these moments. So listen, you have some women out there, I really don't want to talk about this, but let me just push it out. All right. You got scenarios now where there are women who are embracing alternative relationship styles to accommodate the man. So let's just say your man is into threesomes and maybe swinging or whatever, right? And in the woman's mind, it's, you know what? All men do this, or all men like this do this, and I probably won't find anything better. Let me just roll with it. Better for me to know that he's behaving like this than to just be cheated on by somebody, which I understand the mindset that goes into that. The problem is, it's not really who that woman is. Now, I'm not making this point to argue right or wrong right now, all right? I'm making this point to focus on you're embracing something that doesn't actually sit well with you, that you're actually not okay with. Because there are women out there, truth be told, whether you understand or not, there are women out there who are genuinely down with that, genuinely okay with that open lifestyle. And if they choose to do that with a man and that man's on the same page as them and they're being honest, because to me, it's all, I'm big on honesty and transparency. So they're being honest with each other, that's their choice. What I don't like to see is those who it does not actually work for, but they're trying to deal with it and suck it up just to push things along. And then again, it's just eating away at that woman and deteriorating her over time. All right. Now, I use an extreme example. There's a lot more simpler examples, okay? And you just really want to be mindful of that. It could be as simple as, all right, your guy's into a very fancy lifestyle. I've come across this as well, where a woman gets with a man who's very into the finer things. You usually hear about this in the opposite way, but no, I've seen it where the man's into the finer things. He likes spending money. He likes doing all that. And the woman likes a simple life. She doesn't want all that flash. She doesn't want to be out there like that. She just wants to be in her house by herself or with her man, chilling, enjoying themselves. And that difference in lifestyle clashes. And when you have a woman trying to force herself into that flashy, nicer lifestyle that doesn't fit her, again, it creates conflict. So the bottom line is, if you find yourself being something you're not, if you find yourself compromising your values and your beliefs, you're doing too much. You've got to take a step back and you got to ask yourself, it isn't about, can I deal with this right now? All right? It's about, can I deal with this 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? This is the reason why there's a lot of marriages and relationships that make it a good amount of time, and then what seems like out of nowhere to people, it blows up. But it wasn't out of nowhere. The foundation was set from the beginning that it was going to inevitably crumble and fall apart. And this is just one of the things that can contribute to that issue. All right, so let's keep this going. And another huge sign that you are doing way too much for a man is, if things were to end today, you would regret what you did for him. All right, let me repeat that. If things were to end today, you would regret what you did for him. So let me elaborate. A lot of times, people, this happens with men and women, we do things for someone, again, hoping to get something in return, hoping to gain their affection, to win them over, to gain their approval, their validation, whatever, okay? And as long as we're getting that in that moment, yeah, we feel good. And let's just say part of what you're doing is for the purpose of actually getting a committed relationship, okay? And it's hitting my spirit again. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on today, but let me just speak on it right now. What's been kind of just nagging, whatever. There's a lot of women out there who will have sex with a man because they think this will win him over. This will make him like me. This will get him to make it official, okay? I'll never forget, some of y'all may have heard this story from me before, but many, many years ago, I had received a message from a young lady online, and she told me how she was dating a man, and she wanted to know any tips I have for her sexually that she can do to basically impress him and win him over. Well, I try to get more information on what exactly this situation entails, this dynamic, and it turns out that this guy was dating six other women. So he had a woman for every day of the week. This is a true story. I'm not making this up. He had a woman for every day of the week. I believe she was his Friday girl. I might be getting the day wrong, okay? And according to her, she was the youngest and the hottest of the group. And I guess she wanted to know what she can do to kind of seal the deal to win him and get him away from the other girls. And gain his respect. That was another key thing she asked about, gaining his respect. And I said to her, I said, listen, he doesn't respect you. And what you doing all these sexual things for him is not going to win him over. Like, I guarantee you that's not what you think it is. And I forgot how all the conversation went, but it came out from her. She was like, you made a great point, because there was 6 girls that he was messing with or intimate with, but there was a 7th who he did not sleep with. And she said with the 7th, he wouldn't even let the other girls come around her. Like, the other girls knew about each other, except that one is like she was separated from the pack already. And I said, you see, the one that he's separating, he's not even sleeping with her. And you over here thinking that sleeping with him is going to win him over. That's not the key. So a lot of ladies lay down with a man thinking this will win him over. And then when he doesn't commit to them, they feel cheated. They feel used, right? You gave him your body and you didn't get what you were hoping for in return. But that's exactly why you shouldn't be, one of the reasons why you shouldn't be doing it. And you shouldn't do anything that you're going to regret if it doesn't yield you certain results. So basically, like, if I go on a date with women, or if I'm dating a woman, and in that dating process, I choose to take her out to fancy restaurants. Let's just say I choose to buy her gifts. Let's just say I went super crazy and I paid some bills too. I'm not saying that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just saying, let's just paint that scenario, right? Now, if I do all those things with the genuine desire of, I have no problem doing this for you, I did it out of the kindness of my heart, not to necessarily impress and win you over, just because I could and I didn't mind to. And now if things don't progress, I'm like, all right, well, it is what it is. We keep it moving. All right, cool. Like, if whatever you do, you're going to be okay with it, you're giving it from a genuine place, so be it. But if I'm going to give all those things and then be salty when she doesn't want to be with me, then why the hell did I give it in the first place? I gave it for the wrong reasons. So you really got to ask yourself, like, am I really at peace with giving this? Am I at peace with doing these things? Because I'll hear women say, well, we're just naturally nurturing and, I just like to do for a man. Okay, cool. I understand that some of you genuinely love to serve and do and pour into. I'm not telling you to be something you're not, but if you're going to tell me that, then if he doesn't become your man, you shouldn't be upset, because it should be, no, I enjoyed doing it anyway. Yeah, it didn't work out, unfortunately, but I'm not going to try to take back everything I did. So bottom line is, be mindful of that. Be mindful of where that line needs to be drawn. And also, again, it's not just are you doing to get something in return? Like I said earlier, are you crossing a line that's creating an unhealthy attachment? That's creating that need for, well, I've given so much and now I must get something in return, okay? Which another thing just hit me again. I've seen many scenarios where women have given, or let's just say even loaned money while in the dating process. And now won't let go of an unhealthy, toxic situation because they want their money back. You know what I'm saying? It's like you loaned this joker $2,000 and you waiting for your $2,000. But now he can use that to keep you in his life as long as he wants. He can use this to manipulate you. And this is why I'm going to say, listen, even with money, if you're going to give it, only give it if you're okay with losing it. All right? If that's the case, so be it, because you got to be able to walk away when that time comes, if necessary. Now, I would hope that the situation works out for you, but if it doesn't, you got to be able to walk away. So don't do so much to where you are now creating this unhealthy attachment and struggle to let go of an unhealthy individual. All right, now before I continue, be sure to stop at my shop to get tickets to my new event, new tour, Time for a Change tour, and all my other events. You're going to see them all at my store, stephanspeakshop.com. Click the link in the description or in the comment section. You'll also find my books. You'll find opportunities for one-on-one coaching, group coaching, you name it. It's all at the shop. Again, go to stephanspeakshop.com. So now, another huge sign that you are doing too much for a man that you're dating or in a relationship with, but not dating, is that he's not matching your energy, okay? So remember I said earlier, there are instances where I can understand a woman doing all these things for a man. And that instance is he's doing a lot for you too, okay? Now, we could still make the argument that, listen, if it's not an official commitment in place, you got to be careful because unfortunately, there are men out there who will treat you amazingly well and have no intention of making things official with you. Have no intentions of you being their future wife or anything like that. They're just men who they may pride themselves on making sure they take care of a woman, or they may be good guys in that sense, right? But unless you have a direct conversation with them about it, you may not understand it. This does not translate always to, oh, he's going to be serious with me, all right? I think typically it's a good sign, but there's going to be exceptions to every rule. So you got to be careful with that. But when he is pouring back into you, when he is matching that energy, it's more understandable. Like it's hard for me to tell a woman, oh, what are you thinking cooking for this man if he's actually over there helping you with bills and stuff, right? How could you take care of this for him, but he's taking care of that for you? Like I get it, and I think that you got to make sure you're getting what you need in return. Now, what you need in return is going to look different from what another woman needs in return. What you determine as a match of your energy may look different than somebody else's. And so I think it's important that as a woman, you are articulating that. You are expressing that because, listen, there are men, believe it or not, there are men out there who will do more for you if they just knew what you needed and wanted. All right? But if you don't speak up, if you don't say anything, it's not going to happen. Like, there's a lot of women, sometimes you'll see women who they get so much from men. And one of the simple differences between them and other women is they say something. All right. Now, of course, there could be a lot more to that. And some of y'all may say, well, I said something and I got nothing. I get it. It doesn't mean it works with everybody, right? But it's also a way of exposing what kind of men are you dealing with. And if you are doing for him, then to me, you have every right to make requests. You have every right to say something because you're doing your part. You're showing up in a certain kind of way, so he should be showing up in the way that he needs to show up. So make sure the energy is matched. But I think what I also want to mention before we move on to another point is with the whole matching of energy, listen, we're focusing a lot on the things that you do and what he does for you in return. But I think it's really important that we also understand the energy, the spirit that people are giving in in a relationship, in the dating process, so on and so forth, how we're showing up in that way. And I think it's important because there's a lot of women who will say to me, I did everything for this man and it wasn't good enough. And it reminds me of one time I spoke at a conference, and this much older woman, I want to say she was in her 60s. She had been married, let's say 20 years, maybe more than that. And she was just like, I'm fed up with my husband. Nothing's good enough. Nothing, I do everything. I cook, I clean, I do all these things. And he just ungrateful and he doesn't do anything for me. Boom, boom, boom. But I sensed immediately like there's something more to this. And through digging and speaking more to her, what I found is that his issue wasn't about what she is or isn't doing for him. It was about her energy, her attitude. And so a lot of women confuse feminine energy with being domesticated. So it's like, okay, you can cook, clean, and do all that stuff, but still be masculine with your energy. You can still give off hardness. You can still be cold. You can still have walls up. You can still be less loving, nurturing, and welcoming to your partner, right? And if that's going on, all that stuff that you're doing physically is not going to hit the same. It's almost like, I don't know why this is what came to my head, but it's like the difference between a man handing you money and saying, hey, baby, here, go buy yourself something nice, and throwing money at you and say, go get you what you want. It's like, he can run to me and be like, yo, I give her money anytime she wants. It's like, yeah, you throw it at her and you tell her, get what you want with an attitude. That's not going to hit the same as, here, baby, get what you want, and nicely handing you the money. You know what I'm saying? Now, I gave an extreme example, but I think y'all understand my point. There's an energy, there's a spirit behind your actions that can dictate how someone receives it, right? And really affect the quality of the relationship and the experience overall. So be very mindful of that your energy, your spirit is in the right place when you are dating or in a relationship or even in a marriage, if you truly want to see it be successful. All right, so I had several more I wanted to mention, but we'll just do a part 2. You know how I am. I'll do a part 2 video. But another big sign you're doing too much is when God already told you to stop. So listen, a lot of you, I'm a big believer in women's intuition. And I believe intuition and spirit go hand in hand, and they're extensions of God and what God blessed you with. And a lot of times as a woman, there's something within you telling you, stop, or telling you, slow down, or telling you to run, walk away. And for various reasons, you're choosing to ignore it, to rationalize past it. Maybe you feel like, oh, that's just me talking. Maybe it's the outside noise getting in your head. You might be having a family member or friend telling you, girl, you got to do what you got to do. You got a great opportunity here. Do everything he wants. I've seen that happen. I've also seen the opposite happen. Friends and family sabotaging you. That's a whole different discussion. But the point is, you're not listening to God. You're not listening to your intuition. Now, I don't want you to simply rely on that moment where intuition hits. I want you to get into the practice of taking a moment, going to God, and asking God. Because at the end of the day, whether I say it's too much, whether the next person says it's too much, friend, family, pastor, whoever, what matters is, does God think it's too much in this moment? All right? How does God want you to navigate the situation? Believe it or not, there may be a moment where God intentionally wants you to cook for that man. And it might be to show you he's an ungrateful, I was going to say ungrateful bastard, excuse me. he's an ungrateful whatever, right, that you shouldn't be dealing with. And God is using that moment to expose it. Or it may be to open the door to something else. We don't know sometimes how God will guide us in certain moments because we don't know the full picture that he sees that we can't, okay? But that's why it's so important to learn or to get into the practice of praying, talking to God, listening. And I know it's not easy for everyone. This is why I encourage practicing it and practicing it with all the smaller little things in life. daily if possible, doing what you can to get comfortable with that role, that practice, so to speak, right? So that you can better understand how to move in certain situations. And especially if at the end of the day, he's just not the guy for you. And listen, a guy could be a good guy. He could have great qualities. He can have a lot of desirable things about him and still at the end of the day not be the right man for you. And sometimes that's because what will clearly show you he's not has not been seen yet. But do we need to always wait for that? Because sometimes waiting for that to come about is letting ourselves fall way too deep, and now it's a bigger mess. So that's why we gotta learn to ask God as early as possible and let that guide us so that we can receive what is truly best for us. And you know what? I decided I wanted to add like one more bonus, okay, for today. We'll still have a part 2, but here's a bonus. Another huge sign you're doing too much for a man is when you're neglecting yourself and your priorities, okay? Don't get me wrong. I understand that we have to be able to show up for our partners. We got to be able and willing to pour into them. I'm all for that. But I've seen too many women lose themselves in trying to hold on or impress or win over a man, all right? Hell, I've seen some situations where women neglected their kids, neglected other family members, other friends, whatever, in ways that may have been important because of some man they're trying to get with. And I think there's a balance we have to find. But again, I'm not even going to worry about the other people right now. I'll focus on you. Are you still taking care of yourself? Are you still doing what you need to do for you? All right? Are you still prioritizing your self-love, your self-respect, your needs? Because if you don't take care of you, who will? All right? And you got to be good to you first. And if you're not good to you, at some point you will burn out. And that burnout will turn into you being exhausted. It might turn into negative energy. That same negative energy now negatively impacts this dating process with the man and throws things off with him. But it's because you're not making sure you have enough rest and recharge and peace and pouring into you what you need. So be mindful of that. Take inventory of that. And make sure that's always a part of the process, no matter who you're dealing with or what you're aiming for in life. Thank you for watching this video. I pray it was helpful to you. Be sure to watch this one over here on the secret criteria men use to choose a woman. I do think it's a great tool to have in the toolbox, okay? I think everybody, men and women, should learn